Okay, let's switch to another topic. One of my other frustrations with the actuarial community is the lack of innovation and entrepreneurship. I was forced to become an entrepreneur, sort of. Well, I was interested in it, but I was forced to do it because I couldn't get a job as an actuary back about 25 years ago. And that's when I started a company. And
Hmm.
uh, I find that many actuaries are really content to be followers of some regulatory rules or other and apply the regulatory rules, which is important, but they don't really look for ways to be innovative or creative. And I'm
Hmm.
curious what you think about this as somebody who's really young and beginning in the profession.
Well, in terms of the entrepreneurship, I think that not a lot of people really even look to that as a career path as they go down this stuff. It's more or less cut and paste these days about, you get a couple of exams, you get a couple of internships, you get a job, and that's kind of the track that I think everybody follows. But I've seen a lot of success stories, you know, on on uh, on LinkedIn we were talking about earlier that a lot of people that try to make their way as a solo practitioner, as a solo consultant, and do these things end up doing really well because they find a niche for themselves that they're able to exploit and really be successful. But I don't think a lot of people really are looking at the entrepreneurship route whenever that's something that I mean, we were just at the ARC. They had this quote about an actuary that's just an actuary is not an actuary, right? I mean, it's an old quote, but it's an important one. There's a really diverse set of skills in every single one of us, and we can bring that to the next level by being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, and figuring out where your skill set can take you. But a lot of people aren't really paying attention to the opportunities that lie outside of, like I said, kind of that cut and paste, couple of exams, couple of internships, and get on the right track to get an entry level job. And so that's something that if it could change at the SOA level, that would be something that would be a game changer for people that are looking at trying to break out, or people that have great ideas for products in the insurance space that are actuaries. And if only they could figure out how to get funding, they could figure out how to really break out. But that's something that is, I think, kind of hard to do, given the way that the system is right now.
That quotation about an actuary is not an actuary is only an actuary is actually by Frank Reddington.
Yes, it is.
And you know who Reddington was.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so he was chief actuary of the Prudential Assurance Company, which is the British Prudential, not to be confused with the American Prudential. Uh, and their headquarters were across the street from the Institute of Actuaries, which is where I began my career in 1976.
Mhm.
Having begun
Mhm.
it in 1972 with an internship that I disliked so much, I said, I'll never become an actuary. But by 1976, the alternative was unemployment, so it looked a lot brighter. But it's been an enduring regret to me that when I was a young actuary in London, I didn't reach out to Frank Reddington because I've always thought that older actuaries or more mature or senior actuaries are only too delighted if a beginning actuary reaches out to them for advice or just to chat and I encourage my students to do this. Never be intimidated by somebody who's sort of older or has more prestige or something like that. But there's just so much you can learn from them. And as somebody who's now in that older category, I'm always quite impressed when students come to me. They often come to me for advice on entrepreneurship, interestingly.
Mhm.
So,
And so tell me a little bit more about the two companies that you found.
well, actually, I've had five.
Okay.
Either co-founded or founded. The first
Hmm.
one was with a friend who, back in the early days of healthcare data, where you could actually do predictive modeling. So it was a predictive modeling company which we sold, and that's when I
Hmm.
couldn't get a job as an actuary because I've never done a rate filing in my career and have no intention of doing one, and that's what they wanted. Um,
Right.
so just by default, I started another company to do the same thing, really predictive modeling.
Hmm.
All the companies that I've founded, though, have begun as consulting companies but morphed into software. And
Hmm.
that's what
Yeah.
creates value, that they've been bought because we had software. So the second company I sold in 2008, and that's when I made enough money to come and become an academic.
Hmm.
Because as you know, unless you're independently wealthy, you don't make a lot of money as an academic. Don't let me put you
Sure.
off,
Yeah.
though. That's not intended to put you off. I think it's great.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
And I think a lot of the academics I know have very lucrative side deals. So I
Yes,
think that's
absolutely.
yeah. So I did that, and then I've been at UCSB now for 15 years, which is the longest I've ever held a job anywhere, oddly enough.
Wow. Yeah.
But old clients kept coming back, so I started another company, and I just sold that one at the end of 2023. So now I'm semi-retired. I served on a lot of boards, including my board at Texas A&M,
Hmm.
which, and I'll mention this because I think it's unusual. It's in the bioengineering department. So you'll say, what is an actuary doing in bioengineering? Since I know nothing about engineering. And the
Sure.
answer is they have a National Science Foundation grant, a $10 million grant to develop
Hmm.
devices for people with diabetes or heart disease. And those are the areas that I publish in. And the
Hmm.
value that I bring to this board is if you've got a device or something in healthcare, you need to get paid for it. And who is it that pays for this kind of service? It's the insurance companies.
Hmm.
So unless you have somebody who understands insurance to help the
Right.
entrepreneurs, then they tend not to know how to get paid. So I help them get paid. But no,
Well,
I'm
all right.
really semi-retired and just serving on boards, a lot of them entrepreneurial. And one of the things I would like to do at the SOA, and I've been talking to the SOA about this, is to start a small venture fund, a sort of
Hmm.
seed fund for actuaries who have innovative ideas or who want to become entrepreneurs. I'm on a couple of boards like this, one at Stanford, one at UC San Francisco, that provide both funding and mentorship for
Yeah.
people who are starting out in this space. And I've seen how it can really work and develop good ideas. And I think it would be great if the SOA were able to start something like this to encourage actuaries who want to develop something.
And so those other boards that you're on, those are specifically for the insurance industry?
No, the Stanford one is essentially the same thing as A&M. It's a lot
Yeah.
of biotech. Um, the San Francisco, University of California, San Francisco one is in the medical school. So it's a lot of
I
medical
see.
devices, a lot of medical programs that they develop. But I mean, that's my space is health, medical. And
Yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely. And that's another part of it that's really a hot topic right now is trying to figure out a lot of these telematics data and kind of the influence that they're going to have. There's something else that we probably need to talk about too with one of my papers that's coming out that has to do with all of these kinds of things. But let me ask you this: when you got into the predictive modeling and then you turned it into software that way, I think a lot of actuaries kind of get turned off when it comes to actually programming and building software. And so, how did you do that yourself, or did you have a team come in?
we had no, we had programmers in all three. I think we had three or four companies that developed software. Always it was either somebody we knew who could program or we hired
Hmm.
programmers. So we it's unusual for actuaries, I think, to like to do programming, although you can find them. Um, but generally we had hired people to do it. The Interestingly, I think my experience with actuaries is it's very difficult to sell software to actuaries because they always believe they can do it better in Excel.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been a bit of a slog, but we've been successful to sell. A lot of the clients that we work with are medical people, and
Hmm.
they're quite happy to buy
Yeah.
software or rent software. So that's good. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting time. I'm happy. I'm really I always expected to be the kind of actuary who sat in the back room and did calculations. And one of the reasons I became an actuary was so I didn't have to sell.
Yeah.
And what did I spend my career doing?
I've found that it always seems to be the things that you really don't want to do that always come back and they turn into your greatest assets by the end of the day. I mean, I've found that my whole life. It's incredible
Your
how
short
it's my short life so far. That really, I mean, but like even back in high school, and I always we were in a small district and we never really had the greatest math teachers in the world, and so it really took. I had a really good physics teacher finally that showed me that I really do like doing math. But it was, I mean, for a long time there, I didn't like mathematics even, and so it sometimes is the things that you really don't enjoy doing or that you never see yourself doing, and eventually that turns into your greatest asset. And I'm amazed at how that's turned out every single time like that for me. And I mean, to hearing it from you too, it's just it's a funny thing the way that life works that way.
That's good advice. Let's stop there and start a different topic.
Sure, sure.